I am glad to announce that today we have Michael O'Brien. Michael O'Brien is the founder of Humanature and the Wealth and Work Futures Lab at Drexel University. Champions humanity-centered innovation and organizations in economic development. Michael integrates developmental science, neuroscience, and equity-driven strategies to foster thriving communities. Y'all already know what to do. Give a warm We Talk Weekly welcome to Mr. Michael O'Brien.
Hey, how are you? How are you?
Thank y'all for having me. I'm pretty good.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Pretty good. It's a good weekend. It's
Yeah.
warm today.
It's finally, right?
Finally.
It's supposed to be a snowstorm tomorrow.
Tomorrow, right?
But at least today
yeah.
was like 45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. It really was. I was excited about the day. I was able to get through the streets without worrying about too much, right? All the snow have you slipping and sliding, records.
I was going to say I love the snow. I don't love the snow. I love hot, but I think that when we get cold weather, it makes a lot of things die off.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of germs that just die off with very, cold temperatures.
Yeah, true.
Transitions, right?
That's it. Yeah. And you're familiar with transitions
Yeah, oh yeah, lots of them.
because y'all have to do a lot of strategies.
A lot of strategies.
That's
Yes.
excellent segue.
Excellent.
Good job. I see why you do this.
Go ahead, see?
Excellent segue. And so since we're there, shout out to the Eagles. I got to shout out the Eagles again. But since
Go
we're there,
Birds.
let's go Birds. Yeah, let's give a round of applause for the Birds. And so since we're talking about transitions and just new beginnings, right? Let's talk a little bit about your organization and how it even started. But
Yeah.
before that, how did you get into the work that you're doing?
Yeah, no, fantastic question. And again, thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate the space to share what the team and I are working on and all the things. So Human Nature was really birthed out of years of learning and years of trying to figure out why was it so hard to center humans and their humanity in any of the work that was taking place. That I saw, that I participated in. To be really specific, I was working in emergency housing for families back in 2007. I feel like I'm dating myself. I turned 40 this year, actually.
That's a
embrace
good-
it.
Round of applause for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Milestones. Right?
Absolutely.
So back in 2007, I was introduced to the science of trauma. Right? It's called trauma theory. It's where trauma-informed care, trauma-informed practice comes from. These terms have become real popular now. Back then, nobody really knew what they were, and a lot of the focus was on the science of how what happens to humans shifts how you see the world, how you behave, how you predict your way through the world even. And what you learn to expect and how you manage expectations of the world at large. When I say the world at large, I mean the big systems we're in, the closest relationships you're in, all of it. And I just found in my role there as a youth case manager that, if a young person in the shelter was involved in 3 or 4 different systems, those public systems treated the family as if they had 3 or 4 different children with that one child.
Wow.
And so that really birthed for me this quest of curiosity and learning that turned into the practice of trying to help people learn how to use science and design to center humans and their humanity in whatever intervention, prevention, program, whatever you're designing for people, how do you put them at the center and really make their needs present, right?
Right. Wow. You said something about the science of it. Have you ever heard the term epigenetics?
Yeah.
So do you think that epigenetics, and tell us what epigenetics is for people who don't
Oh,
know, and
boy.
how that it's not DNA changing,
Yeah.
but it's environmental. So tell us.
Oh, you've been doing your reading. Yeah, I'm with it.
So tell us about epigenetics and how that.
So epigenetics are this is I try my best to be translational, right? So I take big old science concepts and make it real easy. Oh, there's a video. That's great. So I'm going to be super simple and this isn't perfect science, but you'll get the point. The demonstration is the point. So let's say this circle is, we'll call it your genome package. It's got your DNA in it, that double helix looking thing that we all have seen. And then there are a bunch of other things in the package, though.
Yeah.
There are other proteins and things called alleles, and there's a bunch of stuff in there that together with the DNA itself, they're going to work together to facilitate a number of processes. What we have learned over time through varying groups of people, through looking at what's happened to them and looking at generations after really big things like a famine hits a large group of population of folks. What we've seen is that there are changes in the package that don't alter the DNA, but it's altering the things around it essentially that affect how the DNA performs, how it does its job. And effectively, what you can have is the experience of it being as if something is wrong with the DNA. And so you do have these different types of issues that can arise for a person physiologically, et cetera, that again, to your point earlier, it's not changing, the situation didn't change the DNA, right? But the emotional environment, the things happening in the physical environment, all these things. So this is why stress is such a problem, right? These things, and particularly in utero, when a birthing person, a person that can give birth, is pregnant and there's a ton of stress present, there's a lot
Say that
can,
one more time.
Yeah, it's
Say
heavy.
that one more time, please.
So that when a person who can give birth is pregnant and is experiencing stressors chronically while the baby is in utero or in the womb, there's a lot of research there about the complications it can create for the baby and for subsequent generations. Particularly, you think about it, I learned this from some other really wise folks, that a woman is born, or a cisgendered woman is born with all of the eggs she'll ever have.
Yep.
So
From the grandmother, I
right,
think.
so
Yep.
grandma having a child born female in the womb, like I was in my grandma
Yes.
as
absolutely.
an egg,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so were you. So were all of us, right?
Yes.
So
People don't realize that.
these things. So we're unpacking what it means. And I remember when I was first introduced to this science some years ago, we're still trying to get our minds around it and learn from it. Luckily, the field has progressed. There's some really great books out there. I don't know them off the top of my head, but if you even just go to TED.com, there's a fantastic TED Talk that a researcher, an author a scientist gives on epigenetics. It's worth looking into for sure. I'm so glad you asked that question.
Awesome.
Interesting. I mean, that has me stunned. I didn't even anticipate going that deep into it, and I think that's interesting as it relates to even how we look at our own communities, how the communities
Yes.
develop, right?
Absolutely.
Because we, to a degree, already have some trauma to us,
Yeah.
right? And so, if we do know this, right, how do we not necessarily remedy, because all of this can't be fixed per se, right? But there is some soothing that we can do, or some, supports that we can give, resources to ease the traumas of the community that we're
Yeah.
in. And so I would love for you to take a stab at that, peel back those layers in context to your study or your field of school.
Yeah, so human nature, and the reason we focus on people's work lives, people spend a huge portion of their lives at work, right? Yeah. There are families where people will see their work colleagues more than they'll see their children on a regular basis, right? And you can spend so much time at work and no one has put in deep thought. I won't say no one, that's a little too much of a global whole. Very few people have put in deep thought, particularly take that epigenetics thing and think about it in terms of, again, the social and emotional environment as much as the physical environment are having impacts on you and your well-being and children and their well-being and descendants, et cetera. How often have we thought about the amount of stressors present in a work environment for different people based on their identities and based on the varying life challenges they're bringing to the table because of the way life fell out for them, right? We don't think about that. We don't talk about that. And what it stresses one person doesn't naturally travel to the next. So as an example, I'm a cisgender male. That means I was born male and I agree with the gender I was assigned at birth, and I identify that way.
Right.
I did not know that women, trans folks, non-binary folks have tactics for keeping themselves safe on the street when they walk, like putting their keys in between their fingers,
Right, sure.
because we've created a society where particularly cisgender men can visit violence upon lots of people as just like their right almost, right? I didn't know that kind of stressor existed for people that weren't like me, just walking down the street, right? And that's just one example of the way identity and stress have this really interesting and dynamic relationship. So you put that in the workplace, and you have to think about race, gender, class, being differently abled in any kind of way, and how much people are not considered or considered. So those experiences are stressful. They can also introduce trauma. So we try to help people better attune to the humanity of folks. First, you got to sensitize people to their own humanity and then the humanity of others, and then start on the process of what does it mean to design environments where people can thrive and do well. At the lab, we look at other places besides work. To your point, thinking about neighborhoods and communities, one of the research projects we have right now looks at what's called longitudinal data. So we're looking at about 43 years worth of data around the experience of the death of a sibling or parent over a 43-year period. And we have two big data sets, one up to the age of 18, and then one where those experiences happen up to the age of 24.
Wow.
For 40 plus years, Black people have disproportionately experienced the loss of a parent or sibling by the age of 18, and then again by the age of 24. There's no way, we've not organized what that means. We've not asked enough questions about what that means for a young person who is developing and transitioning from young adulthood to adulthood, trying to find work in a world where 725 is still a wage that we say is okay for people, right? So like, there's a lot to unpack there, but the first thing you got to do is be able to organize the problem contextually and properly and frame it properly to then organize and design your way towards the best solutions. And we think those solutions are best designed with the people experiencing the issue in real time and who have historical touch points with it.
I've heard that that children from inner city, young children to at least, young adulthood, have probably experienced more trauma than people who went off to war or in the military that didn't go to war, but they've experienced it based on losing friends, from gun violence, from household and all of that. Tell us what your organization, and give us an example of how you unpeel to help with your organization, those type of families.
Yeah, so one of the things that we believe in is anti-gaslighting, right? Like there are, so I'll take a step back. The economist Raj Chetty, Dr. Raj Chetty, he's out of Harvard, runs a research institute there called Opportunity Insights. 10 years ago, he did some landmark research looking at economic mobility, looking at the 50 largest metropolitan areas in the country. Did a refresh of that data set, and Philadelphia is now 50 out of 50 for economic mobility for the age group of folks who are roughly, I want to say this is a loose quote, somewhere between like 33 and 34 and about 46 to 48. So it's my generation, I'm 39. And when you look at our experiences, I think about the amount of gaslighting and the amount of lies, narratives that have been put into media space and never corrected. So think about the crack epidemic, everything about crack babies, everything about who did it and why, et cetera. Tons of narratives went out there into media space. And when they were proven to be not true, no one corrected it.
100, yes. Yeah, let me give you a round of applause for
Thank
that. Yes, and because I want you to continue. I just want to put a small speed bump there, because that's one of the things that we talk about all the time as it relates to media literacy, right? In understanding what messages are being put out there
Absolutely.
and how to discern, do your own research to find out, well, is there intention behind why they're putting out some of those images and messages and a rhetoric that follows that?
Absolutely. And there are research articles. I'm actually digging, looking for more, but I found one that came out roughly early 2000s that looked at the non-correction in the 90s around the crack epidemic and all of the fake, I don't want to call it fake,
Misinformation.
all of the misinformation, thank you, all of
Okay.
the misinformation. And so I'm really interested in digging through, like, how much have we tracked this with other narratives that have impacted Black folks, migrants, pick any other excluded group, and let's dig in and see, have we corrected anything? And so one of the things we work on, we have a media fellowship program for 18 to 26-year-olds. Let's get new narratives out there, and let's also use media and the ways in which young people and even emerging adults and older but younger adults, the ways they like to consume information and learn.
right.
Let's get this information out there. Let's correct the record, and then let's also share all of this new science about healing, about resilience, about what it takes. Because if we believe that everybody is going to have access to a therapist to heal, we've known for decades we don't have enough supply.
Yeah.
It's a human capital thing, right? Talent,
that's
supply,
right,
and demand. We don't have enough clinicians for the whole population in the country, let alone Black clinicians or clinicians who speak multiple languages to address everybody else.
Or
who
understand
needs it,
nuance.
Right? Absolutely.
Right, absolutely, yes.
So there are other ways to heal, which Black people have actually been invested in, Indigenous Americans have been invested in for centuries, because before there was the technical role of a therapist who was allowed to even treat people not of their own race, we were still healing through enslavement and genocides. So there are ways of healing and knowing that we can get back to. A lot of it's in arts and culture. It's in being connected to community. It's in, again, this thing around anti-gaslighting, the kind of stress you can alleviate from a family or a person's shoulders by just saying, I hear you and I am bearing witness to the reality of your existence and your suffering. For some people, that first cry from that is so cathartic.
Yes.
Because you've been told and gaslit for so long, and you just keep chugging away like, oh, I guess I'm okay, I guess I'm okay, I guess I'm okay, and you're about to pop.
I think one of the things that Black folk has a challenge with is not that we don't like X, Y, and Z. It's the fact that you just won't acknowledge. Once you acknowledge it, then we're okay. You could come to the cookout, right? Well, not really, but it's about saying, yes, I was wrong. I did this. This has actually happened. Now we can move forward.
I think also, and it impacted you.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Like
yes.
what I'm expressing to you, I think about how Black women, often in medical situations, are literally gaslit. There's this fantastic clip I've used in some of our workshops in experiential learning sessions for organizations of a doctor is talking about a Black woman who was coming in for one thing, but she was animated or whatever the language is, right? And so people kind of was like, all right, here comes the kind of hysterical lady, the hypochondriac, blah, 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 blah. And they're trying to get her to like half calm down every time she comes in. And this one time the doctor is like, no, she keeps like heard her differently for the first time and was like, wait, she keeps complaining about X and Y. She's coughing, she's grabbing her heart. Get this woman an EKG. Gets her an EKG and finds out she's having a series of small mini heart attacks and was like, oh God, she literally was not making that up. She was saying the truth and expressing her pain and showing it, but for whatever reason, how we were culturized, if you will, how we were socialized, that information was not coming in a way that I could receive, that woman could receive, right? And I think that kind of thing happens across multiple identities in varying ways, which can make it very hard to try to get to solutions, right?
That's right.
It's particularly in public policy, working with foundations, et cetera. You can have the best of intentions and still miss it.
I worked in healthcare for 30 years. I've been a victim of that as well as have viewed it. So I've definitely seen it. But I also want to ask you, when you were speaking about the way that the media delivers information, one, I think that the newer generation with TikTok, I think that a lot of things are starting to be like more learned about when it comes to mental health, when it comes to history. So that kind of new wave has been, and we'll talk more about that in good news and bad news about what TikTok banned. But I wanted to ask you this, and maybe it's just me, but do you think that far as news delivery, news is always highlighting everything horrible, bad, because it brings in more.
If it bleeds, it leads, as they say.
Yes.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah. So do
Right,
you
yeah.
think that may be like a setup in regards to even trauma that you're bringing into the house, to your households?
It's a little bit of chicken and egg, right?
Okay.
You know
Which
what I
came
mean?
first?
Well, so what I mean by that is this, right? Like there are a ton of really not good things happening. There are a ton of good things happening. Unfortunately, a lot of the not so good things happening do outweigh the good things happening. And what I mean by that, though, I want to get into the nuance. We do focus on specific groups, however, and they're not so good things.
Okay.
So
That
we,
highlighted
yeah,
more.
yeah,
to
yeah,
give
yeah,
you-
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, because public policy has some not so good things happening. The private sector has not so good things happening. The black community, but so does the white community. So does it. Like every community has not so good things, so many good things happening, right? And but there are groups whose stuff is put on blast and on pedestals more than others. I think that then does feed a certain kind of stress level. I think it does feed a certain type of reorganization of self and views on communities. But some of that would be happening anyway just because of the prevalence of what's present already, right? Like the thing, and I'll just be very specific about this here. There are certain communities I've worked in for multiple years where the median income is like $15,000 a year. There's going to be a lot of bad stuff happening.
Absolutely.
And I don't mean bad as in like judgment call bad. I just mean like, and I'll be really clear about my language, not bad, harmful things that are just going to take place because you cannot, with $15,000, possibly build health into your family life in the way that you want to. And that doesn't, and I think people should be able to define healthy the way they want to, as long as it means no harm. You know what I mean? Like, other than that, like define it how you want. But even with that definition, it's hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that it's a tricky balance. But what I'll say, it's like what the media is doing is just pouring gasoline on a thing that's already kind of out of control, while not highlighting the things that could help promote people to want to be able to, because I don't even think it's that they don't want to be able to see and imagine some other ways of handling conflict or other ways of being.
Yeah, I won't totally blame legacy media, but I do believe that's the problem. Why it's also important to have media outlets like ours, hyper local, that's truly in the communities and can say that, hey, no, there are some problems or some issues that's going on here that's not being seen or spoken about. So here's an amplification for it, and someone can truly say, oh, maybe I didn't know. Giving you a pass to a degree. I didn't know. Now you know. Now what you're going to do. Now you held responsible for it, right?
Right.
And to that point, we go into the community conversation and then talk the civics piece, right? So one of the questions that I always ask is, one, how do you define civics, right? And in the context of what you do, how do you pull that idea of civics within that conversation? Yeah.
I think it's a good question. I'm a nerd. You probably picked up on that. I wear it proudly. I use, because we speak English, I tend to go to the Oxford English Dictionary to help settle some arguments.
The Queen's Speech.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
You know,
no,
well,
no.
I mean, people
Yeah,
like to
man,
be,
I
well,
got
I
you.
think this been that, I think this been that. I'm like, well, okay, listen. The first place we're going to start with is the record.
That's right. That's right.
So that, like, I do this with equity all the time. Right? People are like, well, I need it. I'm
You
like,
can talk
listen,
about it. That's right.
I
Yes,
go,
I love it. Yeah.
OED says the state of being fair and impartial.
Yeah.
It's a mouthful in itself.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
What's
if there's
fair to you,
anything
yeah.
right, if
What's fair,
anything,
yeah.
what this country has clearly not been is impartial.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's actually
Hence, let's make America great again, right? No, let's not go there.
well, no, but
for
here's
sure.
the deal. You know what? I don't mind going there because we are in Pennsylvania, and I think there are so many ripe things there, right? Because there's something, to the point around media literacy.
Yeah.
There is something diabolical at play.
Yes.
When rural, poor white folks have an awakening that they might be closer in economic experience to the migrants and poor black people in Philadelphia. I think it's actually it's its own kind of ironically beautiful awakening that I think can be energizing.
Okay.
Because the reality is that's the truth.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
And you see it play out in actually what happened with public education, where the lawyers who were defending the Republicans in court with the landmark case around fair funding said to one of the superintendents out in Western PA, where it is a much more rural space, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, but like, isn't education's job to prepare people for the jobs that are available around them? So that's Pizza Hut and like McDonald's here, right? And like, and this is all on record in the papers, right? So wouldn't you say you're doing that? I mean, just like make it plain, make it plain, make it clear, right? And so I do think these things are linked, they're important, and there's an opportunity for learning in this moment that's different than the other. And this all gets back to this definition around civics, right? Which is the study, OED says the study of government and the rights and responsibility of citizens.
That's right.
Everything I just talked about fits
100%.
squarely into that definition. So for us, and particularly with the media program with the young folks, one of my pushes on with them, they pick some themes around grief and loss. In fact, they coined this term I love, grief paralysis. As what their age group is experiencing. Again, these are 18 to 26-year-olds. This is what they're experiencing as they're transitioning to adulthood, to emerging adulthood, and the workforce as the resources beneath them just bottom out. And they kept talking to me about why and what, and I said, "Did you know where you really got to go? Like, for a moment, don't pay attention to voting yet. Let's pay attention to the budget. How is that budget aligned to your well-being? How does that budget address 43 years of disproportionate grief and loss in your community? How does that budget attune to the fact that you don't have the resources to grieve properly? I've worked with so many people that don't have tombstones for dead loved ones. Like, there's just so much there to unpack, and that's just the death part. There are so many other types of losses that are also present and compounded for them. And the question we have to ask, and this isn't an indictment on anybody in council or whatever, unfortunately, we have the budget that we have, right? Council's coming in to help manage the thing, essentially, for lack of a better term, manage. And same with the administration, but the city deals with the fact at large that no matter who's in charge, the budget is kind of small.
So can someone argue or attribute that to voting? You know, the argument that you need to vote for someone to fight for more funding or a bigger budget, so to speak. Can you argue that?
Oh, it's complicated. I mean, you could. So yes, right? It just gets real complicated because city budgets, and I'm not an expert here, right? I'm learning alongside the young people, and we're talking to people all across the country to keep learning and growing together. One way you do that, or the major way, is taxes. Right, but we are in a fight around that.
Yeah, I was about to
Philly,
say,
right?
do we further tax the poor?
What? I'm going to be. So I'll say it like this: There are ways in which larger institutions
Okay.
could pay taxes.
Absolutely.
I agree
And this
with
is a
that.
conversation that's
Yeah.
been happening around
Yeah.
pilots, right? Payments
sure.
in lieu of taxes. So one group of people says no, they need to pay taxes. The others say no, they don't need to pay taxes. They can do pilots. For the sake of today, I'm not going to get involved with that
Sure.
conversation. What I am going to say is that the city budget can't handle the needs here. We are 50 out of 50 in economic mobility.
That's wow.
And Black people here are disproportionately experiencing that. Hispanic folks, Latinx folks are disproportionately experiencing that. Women in both of those groups experiencing that even harsher. Roger's work does point out that Black men are experiencing a certain kind of harshness when it comes to economic mobility.
Yes.
Even when they break out, they have a humongous chance and likelihood of falling back into poverty and having all of that erased. So I don't want to put a number around
understand it.
the chance. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I've heard him talk about this a bunch. So I can at least say that much to be true, that there's that is a thing. So we've seen these data point to let me be clearer for folks too. Why I pointed out Black women and Hispanic or Latinx women is when you look at something called occupational segregation,
Okay.
which looks at it's research the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia did, looking at the usage of public dollars within the workforce system. Just to be brief, there are disparities there.
Yeah. Wow.
On average, white men are getting pipelined to jobs that pay about $5,000 more per year, and there are clusters of jobs that are lower paying that Black women and Latinx women are getting pipelined to, and we have to deal with these realities. They're uncomfortable, but we're not going to address economic mobility without, again, framing the problem accurately, learning as much as we can, not just from these big data sets that can show us those trends. You got to talk to people and understand what is the experience like of being there, because the map is not the territory, right? A map will give your mind some mental model representation, but a river as a squiggly line on a map, you can use that to help you get to the river. But once you're at the river, you got to actually look at it and take it in to understand, because it's not the same as crossing a little squiggly line on the map, right? And it's that kind of metaphor for where we're at in the sense making therein. So we need politicians locally, nationally, at the state level, et cetera. We need politicians that are going to partner with us in that kind of learning and try to figure out what is it that we can do differently and collectively. And then sometimes on certain issues, the hands are kind of tied because
for sure.
the stuff is complex, and there are other spaces where there might be some innovation to be had.
Wow. You said a lot. That's a lot to unpack, and I agree. I agree with. I agree. Full stop. I agree. I think City Council is doing what they can. There is some room to do more. There is some room. Yeah. A lot more. There is some room to do more, because I won't discount the great work that I have seen, personally seen, right? And we're really heavy with holding people accountable, and at the same time asking for their vote, right? So if you want them to vote for you, we would like you to do certain things for the community that you're asking for voting, and not just seeing you during the time that you're campaigning, right? And so that's a problem there. But I agree. It's just super layered, and I like that there's a conversation that's happening now to start to peel back those layers, all right, to have different trains of thought. Because if one is a fool for what they don't know, right? So if they don't understand the different dynamics, right, and even a deeper pedagogy to have, then they can't do anything to fix it, right? And so us leading with solutions, it always starts there. Okay, this is the barrel of issues. What can we do? Let's start with the first apple. How can we fix that, right? two things can happen at the same time. So no, amazing conversation. That time went just that quick.
It did. Thank you.
Hopefully, mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hopefully, mom was okay with that. And so, why don't you, real quick, talk a little bit more about your organization and how they can find you and some of the great work that you're doing. And you got to promise that you come back because I think there's more conversation that needs to be had around.
Thank
this.
you. I would love to come back. I appreciate the space that you are holding for these complex conversations, right? Because again, we got to partner with our politicians. We got to partner with the private sector. We got to partner with everybody, community. We got to figure this out. Because we can't stay being 50 out of 50. That just sounds like more dead kids. You know what I mean? And I don't want that, right? So you can find us on the web at www.humannature.works. That's human nature with one N. So HUMANATURE.works with the S on the end, because humannature.com is about $15,000.
Oh,
it's considered prime digital real estate. I didn't even know that was a thing until I went to buy it 7 years ago. I was like, what? So anyway, that's where you can find us there. And again, we're actually doing some work right now around this issue with occupational segregation and partnering with the Commerce Department for the City of Philadelphia, Philadelphia Works, and the Chamber of Commerce. So that's what I mean. Like, people are stepping to the table to do the work. And they've already been doing the work. This is just complex stuff. And we got to keep, to your point, peeling back the layers and the onion.
That's right.
The other side of the work at Drexel, so that's the Wealth and Work Futures Lab. You can Google it. We have a landing page at Drexel. Our website will be up soon. It's my fault. I will own that because my team will watch this, and I love them, and it is me and the copy. So I'm going to get out of their way by the end of this week, and we're going to have that website up. But those two things. And then I'm Michael O'Brien. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Thank you so much.
You know what? Just real quick, I want to know, because you're a wealth of knowledge, and I think you have a lot to give to the world, right?
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. This is conversations that we need to have constantly in the nuances, and I don't think we have enough of that. But I want to know, what would be the legacy that you feel like you would like to leave?
That's so funny. I just answered the same question for generosity in an article that I was able to my personal legacy.
Yeah, your personal legacy. Yeah,
because I always think about my team, because nothing happens by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Like team.
Yeah. All these lone entrepreneur stories. I'm like, that's a person that didn't really start a business, so they're just lying. One of the two.
So let's do that. Then.
Yeah.
Let's do that then, because let's talk about your team, like the team and the organization that you put. What would be the legacy you would like for that to leave?
That other people could pick up our work wherever we've left it off. Wherever we left it off, and continue pushing forward. I'm standing on the shoulders of so many giants, named and unnamed, and I think it's my responsibility. That's why I started building these in a particular kind of way, from the advice and guidance of some elders, right? The work should outlive us. The work should be larger than us. I'm comfortable with us just being a footnote in the larger story and not the story, you know what I mean? And I think for me personally, I would love for people to say two things about me when I transition, because we're all ancestors making our way to that journey and that point. One, Michael was a nervous guy. That guy was funny. He could make me laugh. And the other being that he really was able to help widen the lens of human concern. And I think about that with the team too, because again, I can't do that by myself. It's the team, it's the products, it's the learnings, it's the way we capture it, it's the way that lives on with all the fellows and the programs and the young people we work with, like that we were able to keep pushing at the edges, coming back to the middle and telling everyone, look, there's more space. And then we run back to the edge and push more and come back and go, oh my God, there's more space again. So that's it.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Give you a round of applause.
Thank you.
So real quick, do you know a Cheryl O'Brien?
That is my.
You gotta give her a shot. She said, yes, bring him back. Give her I give Mom a round of
I know
applause.
that's
That is
right.
my mama. I love her. Thank you, Mom.
And that's, well, before you go, very briefly, because I know we have another guest too.
Yes.
What made you get into this field?
Yeah.
Like, what was that pivotal moment?
Actually, so I was fortunate to go to a performing arts high school that changed my life back in Hartford, Connecticut.
Nice.
And I'm open about this story. My mom survived foster care. She's given me permission to share these stories. And my mother was an opportunity youth, and all the things and terms that we disconnected youth, the things we talk about now, that had no designation back then, and no one really cared that much about those young people the way that, and I'm not saying I'm not saying we care that much now, but it's a little bit more care,
Right.
right? And so I grew up the child of a young person who was disconnected and figuring it out. And so she sacrificed a lot, and art made a major difference in my life. And people surrounded me with love and care and art. And my mom did, but others did. And I did this program called Looking in Theater that really changed my life, because what it did, it taught me, I didn't know this, but it was teaching me how to be a designer. It was teaching me about human-centered design. It was teaching me about how it was the best humanitarian education I could get, how to not make caricatures out of issues that people experience in the people themselves. And so just really quickly, it's a teen theater troupe that makes up scenes about any issue a teenager could face. Interracial dating, eating disorders, bullying, coming out of the closet, being trans. I mean, whatever a young person, parents suffering from addiction, the kids suffering from addiction, racism. I mean, you name it. Sexual abuse, physical abuse, whatever they could experience, we wrote scenes on. But the way that we wrote the scenes, you do the training over the summer in your initial cohort, and you get these topics in the first week, and you do some improving, and then you would get critiques back from your facilitators and trainers, but you wouldn't get critiques on like, did you portray the issue well or not? Because the next thing they did was have these guest speakers come in that you could interview, and you talk to people who lived through those issues and survived. You talk to the people who were professionals that worked on those issues, and you talk to their family members. So by the end of all that, you then redid the scenes.
Wow.
When I tell you that was the most life-changing thing, because I was like, damn, I did not know how to center anyone's humanity. And that started me on that journey, and then it's just been a successive learning journey everywhere else I went, and that's what did it.
Fantastic,
Thank you.
fantastic. Shout out to Mom again. Mom says she loves you, darling. Give a round of applause for Mom real quick. She holding you down.
She is.
We love the moms over here. We love the moms over
And
here.
thank you for what y'all are doing and holding down here in Philly, really, honestly. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're doing the work. We're trying to do the work out here. And again, one thing we say on the show is once you come to the show, you're always welcome. You're a friend to the show, so you're always welcome to come back. So we'll make sure that we'll schedule some time for you to come back whenever you're available.
Absolutely.
Because I think I want to start bringing you on more consistently, because I believe that you hold that piece of that filling knowledge that's necessary to start to have those deeper conversations.
I appreciate
That makes sense.
that.
Absolutely.